Okay, recording is begun. With me, I have Ragando, who's my group Ironman partner. He started playing the game around the same time I am. Yeah, you can go do your joke. Do your joke.
Ugh, ugh, I got nothing.
Okay, you did your best.
I did my
So
best.
yeah, he and I started at the same time. We came from WoW. Blah 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 blah. We've been playing for a year and like 3/4 now, almost 2 years, I would say. And yeah, how you feel, Ragando?
I feel great. I feel great. I mean, I shouldn't say I'm feeling great because I'm doing the worst content in the game. Take your guess right now in your head. What is the worst content in the game right now? Think about it. Think about it. Are you right? The answer is KQ. That's what I'm doing right now. Were you
True.
right? Were you wrong? If you didn't answer KQ, you were absolutely wrong because this is the worst content in the game.
Absolute dog shit.
Rework it, please.
Yes, true. And don't tell, I don't know, every other old school RuneScape player that's incredibly precious about random bullshit that we said that.
Guys, I know Cowfight Queen is really bad objectively, but I love it. I don't want to change. Why? I hate you. Anyways.
Mm-hmm. Based, we're starting this off on the strong foot here because now we get to talk about other controversial opinions that we have, which is this skill tier list, because I feel like you and I have a lot of opinions about certain skills in the game, so it only makes sense to actually put those opinions on wax. Uh, yeah, and we'll just go in order and we'll give our thoughts. How about that?
I do like that. I like
Okay,
that.
we like that. Okay,
I
sweet.
like you. What?
Don't tell your wife. Okay, first skill is agility. Oh, and by the way, we're also resetting the tier list here, so our tiers are going to be S, A, B, C, and D.
Yep.
That's all good. Okay, D is gonna be the lowest. So yeah. Okay, agility.
Speaking of D
Yeah,
and agility.
yeah, for a bunch of dickery.
Yep. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
It is bad.
I like the rework because run energy, it is what it is. It's not great. It's not bad, but I'm glad agility at least makes that better. But it did kind of, I don't know. I feel like graceful's kind of useless now. It's pretty useless, and that was like the only big agility output
Yep.
besides stamina pots. Stamina pots are like okay if you're like doing blast furnace or if you're doing like solo ohm with like mega scales and you have to freaking run around for 30 minutes. Um, and then the shortcuts are like whatever. Like who cares?
Yeah, agreed. I think agility is just a very lame skill. It's very slow and it's very doesn't give a lot of interesting stuff. And now, as you said, after the updates, the interesting stuff that it gave before, which is the single outfit, is less important now. So all that really changed is that leveling it feels a paced better, as in like the output of getting better energy gain as you progress is nicer. But at the end of the day, it's still an incredibly slow, arguably one of the slowest and most tedious skills in the entire game. For what? For what? For moving slightly better. It's just dog shit, honestly. Fuck agility, man.
Yep, pretty bad.
Yep. It's the cliche opinion, of course, but yeah. So now we have Firemaking. Sorry, what am I saying? We have attack. And we're gonna I don't even know what I'm thinking. We have attack. Attack, we're gonna group it up, attack, strength, and maybe defense. I'll start off on this one. I'd say these are pretty fine. Like they don't really give a lot of interesting stuff. We have accuracy, we have damage, I guess max hits every 4 levels, and then we have the ability to equip certain weapons and armors. I would say I'm considering them slightly better from an input perspective. Like I enjoy the way you train them because you're often doing it through actual content that you enjoy doing, which is always good. But the output's kind of boring. It just kind of facilitates getting geared up. So I would say attack for me and strength for me is B tier, and defense is C tier because defense is always the lamest to train because you always feel like you're kind of losing out on those minor buffs that you get from the other two.
Yep. Yep. I mean, pretty much like they're not like bad. They're not like making your experience worse by any means, but they're not like something you actively think about when you're playing the game. It's just something that sort of happens, and even something that you'll just passively do, whether you're doing the new gem crab or if you did the regular sand crabs in the past or doing nightmare zone. Like you're not you're kind of just wanting to get them up, and you're not really thinking about them too much. But again, not bad.
Yep, they're
It's
fine.
whatever. B.
It's very fine. Construction. I mean, we know where this is going.
Yeah, this is the best skill in the game.
Yep.
The best the literal best quality of life you could ever want out of a skill. Um,
It has amazing
Good rates.
pacing.
You have good, yeah, and good variations of how to train it. If you want to be a juicer oiler for Jagex and just buy a bunch of crap off the G as a main, you can dump hundreds of millions of gold into just like boosting this up. Or as an iron like we are, Mahogany Homes is amazing.
Yeah,
I love it.
there's only two training methods, but both are very diverse in what they offer. Both, one's more relaxed, the other one's incredibly hyper juiced up, and the experience rates reflect that. Because it's an input skill, because it requires a lot of money, that allows it to have really good experience rates as well. This is just it's the best skill as well, in my opinion, because it offers so much quality of life that starts early. That's another really important thing that other skills
Hmm.
don't have, is that at level 50 is when you start getting the teleports. And at level 50, the skills really switched on and becomes really engaging immediately at level 50. And before that, it's not that great, but level 50 is pretty quick to get in a skill like construction, because especially because a quest skips you like 20 levels. I would say the amount of like the way it's paced out, where you can just essentially have your house as a hub of transportation by the end at 99, is so satisfying. It's so like it makes you love your home, right? Which is something that
Yep.
a player-owned house system has never made me do in any other MMO. I never give a fuck about anywhere that my character quote unquote resided in from a player-owned house standpoint until OSRS, because I had to go there for a reason and I had to build it up for a reason. It's not just cosmetic slop. And when you have a infrastructure that allows you to have all this really cool quality of life attached to it, it makes me want it to look cool too. That's why I set up the achievement room and the leagues room, because I go there so often. I want it to look good. And that's a really
Yeah.
cool thing. Yeah.
That's like a side conversation of like cosmetics where like, you've heard him talk about cosmetic slop in World of Warcraft, which I have the same opinion. And it's like part of what makes it slop is the lack of importance that you feel in like obtaining cosmetics for your game. Like everything has to feel connected with each other. And if it just feels like it's just there to exist, then you're just not going to care. But like we care about the POH because it gives us so much to do. And so like I just got my construction in I9. I was doing Mahogany Homes. I got the was it the Hosidius blueprint, and I'm like, hell yeah, my house looks badass, and it
Yeah.
just feels good. Even though I didn't need to. I didn't need to do that by any means, but I wanted to.
I would say like the really big difference between cosmetics that work and don't in my eyes are cosmetics that augment something versus cosmetics that just override anything. All right, I think because cosmetics and
Hmm.
OSRS are so good because they augment something that people already identify. Like the Fang kit makes the Fang look better, and you know what someone needs to do to make that thing look better. It's not just like you can replace a Fang with a bronze dagger, and that's an override. That never works to me. But
Yep.
when it just augments something that already is something that's recognized, like a really cool house, or that gives you a lot, or a Fang or whatever else, it works really well as an ornament kit. So yeah, S tier skill, my favorite skill in the entire game for sure. Definitely.
Yep.
Moving on to something maybe a little bit less exciting. What do you think about cooking?
I mean, sort of the same vein as attack and strength. Like it's there. You just get it up as you're kind of playing the game. You go through meaningless fish in the beginning, and then everyone gets to Karam ones, and then you boost up your cooking through those, getting a million of those. Um, maybe I won't speak for everybody. Maybe that's not your experience. I have to imagine that's most people's experience, though. Yeah, it's there. I don't think it's really like that insane, but I mean, it gives you your food as an iron, as a main. Maybe you're just buying your food, so you really don't care about cooking. But for it's
Yeah,
us. It's whatever.
this is an Iron Man tier list. I will say, I feel like cooking does have a nice output, right? There is a level of satisfaction you get from getting a lot of resources and getting them ready and primed to use. I do like that
Yeah,
about cooking. I think it fits really well into RuneScape. I don't know if I have a lot to complain about with cooking, to be honest. I almost wish that I would say the only thing I wish that existed within cooking immediately is a more engaging way of trading it as an alternative, something kind of cool. Maybe it's a
yeah,
mini game, maybe it's an activity, maybe it's just something you could do on the side to make food a little bit more interesting. Like I always had this idea where the cooking and the food in RuneScape, like when you're creating a multi-step piece of food, like a pizza with toppings or like a baked potato with like chili baked potato, whatever, it has an augmented effect attached to it. So you have the baked potato and then you have the chili on top of that. It gives you something else. Maybe like, maybe your attacks deal fire damage. I don't know, but something like that could make cooking have a little bit more
Well, they
personality.
are adding with the sailing release. I know there's gonna have all that food that's gonna have like bonus effects. They did that with Varlamore too, so it's something I think they're like dipping their toes into,
Yeah,
like the concept of food having these like passive
effects. And
abilities.
that's the way they need to do it. They can't just keep power creeping food if they want to keep adding it. And I feel like it's important to keep like innovating on that. And I feel like they can go really far with it. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm actually gonna put it in a high B. So I'm gonna put it at the top of B for me right now because I do like the output of cooking a lot. Just the training method is kind of whatever.
For me, it's gonna go probably low B just because the output is good. The output is what's bringing it up there, but it is like how you interact with the skill is pretty uninteresting. Like you're just cooking your food.
Yeah.
I sort of thought like in a world where is there ever a world where like they add a minigame for us? But also I don't think so. I don't think they'll ever add a minigame for cooking because like you cook to get your food so you can
Yeah.
do your
So
activities. Like that is what cooking exists to be, and like anything added to that, I don't know. I feel like people don't want that anyways.
I guess there already is a
Um
mini game for cooking. We just never did it. It's that one in Karend that's kind of outdated now. You know the one I'm
oh
talking
yeah,
about? Yeah. I want to say
but
Verf
I
did
mean
it.
again,
I forgot.
maybe.
I'm genuinely forgetting which YouTuber did it, but I remember watching them do it. Anyway, um, so okay, crafting.
Ooh, this is a spicy one. This
Yeah.
is probably the spiciest one so far.
Okay. You want to go first?
I suppose like okay, I hate any method used to level this skill is dog shit. Just to put it lightly. Your main method is going to be cutting gems passively as you get them, making battle stabs as you passively get those, usually through PVM, if unless or charging them if you're insane. Or the quote unquote meta strategy is to accumulate a lot of sand, um, and large seaweed and make molten glass, which I despise. I despise it. Like I am in general, and this is hard to pin down because like you could argue construction has this a little bit where I hate like training methods that don't really give you a whole lot of output. And you can argue construction as a skill has output through levels, and obviously crafting does too. As you get higher crafting level, you can craft good stuff, and that's the good part of crafting. But like with the molten glass method, you're just crafting molten glass to just like maybe you'll make it into lenses,
But those
I
lenses won't
guess,
go into
and
anything.
those lenses don't do anything.
Yeah.
And like conceptually, I always just like I don't know, it's a bad vibe for me, but it's like it's the best XP,
Yeah.
so you're gonna do it.
I'd say like not only is the output like useless in crafting with the molten glass make and just honestly cut gems too. I'll touch on that in the moment. But not only is that bad about crafting, and fun fact, I don't like crafting. It's gonna be a negative thing here.
Crazy.
So not only is the output of cut gems useless, the molten glass output is even more useless. It's just complete meme, right? Not only that, but it's also convoluted to get there. It's not like cooking where you just kind of you catch fish and then you cook them. It's this convoluted like farm it into a glass make spell into a drop thing and then you pick it up and you don't. It's a convoluted method to obtain something that you ultimately throw out. It's a means to an end and it's very
Yep.
very unsatisfying, I would say. I would say the actual crafting upgrades are satisfying, but also on top of that they're incredibly shittily balanced. And that's something I've talked to some JMods about already. And I'm not saying that they're going to change it, but it's just something I wanted to get their input on because realistically speaking, crafting is balanced for people in 2002 or people in 2015, right? With Zenites, it's like in 2015 or 2016 when they first came out, they're like, we had to make this jewelry that's going to be power creeping the Fury, so the Amulet of Fury. So in that, we need to make sure that the requirements are higher, but the requirements of Fury are already 90. In my humble opinion, they need to drop all the crafting requirements by like 10 fucking levels. The fact that a glory needs what 80 crafting to make It's just
Yep.
it's so stupid. It legitimately is so stupid. It makes no sense. I would hope that that happens eventually, considering they literally cannot add another piece of jewelry that's better than the other things being crafted now, unless they do some workaround Araxor method that they talked about. So it's just really badly balanced. The output is good, like from a progression standpoint, but it's terribly balanced and it's terrible to get there. Crafting to me is a C tier.
It is absolutely C tier. Like this is a skill. I think I hope this is the next skill that gets the like fletching treatment where we just got the Veiled Totems minigame for fletching.
Yes.
This is where I hope because the most like consistent crafting that you can do like a method is like making jewelry, which as we all know it's shit GP per hour, it's shit XP per hour, and the method itself is tedious. um
Super tedious.
and of course you're accumulating stacks of thousands of jewelry that's just going to sit in your bank. They're not going to do anything. um hey, make a mini game to give them an output, which will give you some more XP and like maybe spice things up a bit.
Yep, that was definitely
Okay.
that's something I always think about too. It's like that it needs a unstrung slash strung bow to that, to the jewelry element, right? Like you need a way to use those pieces of jewelry other than enchanting them, which at that point you wouldn't be doing because you already have the infinite versions in your player own house. Because by the
Yep.
point you have a fucking 5,000, diamond rings, you're not going to be making them all until Rings of Life. It's just not going to happen. So they just sit in your bank, or you drop trade them, or you forget about them. It's really lame. It's really dumb. There's just skills that have that endpoint where you're just making a bunch of useless stuff to get them up. Not good. It's not good for today's world. It might have been fine for whatever, but in my opinion, it doesn't work today. Is that good? Okay.
C tier.
Well, farming. Anthony, I'm gonna let you go again first because I know you have a lot of thoughts on farming. Sorry,
Is it
Ragondo.
far? Yeah, yeah. Oh my god, he doxed me, guys.
Holy.
Farming. So I absolutely hated this skill when we first started our Ironman. I'm I'm generally, you might have heard my wife playing with our cat. Apologies if you heard that.
Yeah, apologies, viewers.
Yep, true. I'm sorry you had to hear a woman. Uh, uh, so I really hated this skill early on. Like, I am for one not. I'm just not a fan of the daily scape concept. So like we'll get into Hunter as we go into it. Spoiler alert, I despise birdhouses. Um because I just don't like being on like a set schedule of like, oh, this is when I need to go do my farm slash birdhouse run. Never a big fan of that. And then to add on to it, farming early on, it has this early jank problem of you don't have access to a lot of patches and just good stuff to grow. And the early game stuff just isn't going to be that good for you to begin with. So, I mean, it does the very common thing early on where you blow through a lot of the levels through just doing quests, trying to blow through those early levels to hopefully get to a point where you can start doing some decent herb runs, get into the farmers guild, and start doing contracts. And it's one of those skills where the further you get along, the better it gets because your output becomes much better. There is a fun mini game within the skill of like optimizing your farming runs, whether you're doing tree runs for XP or you're doing herb runs or doing allotment farms for like snape grass usually. Um, and there is a level of satisfaction to that. Um, so it's a very hard skill to nail down for me as a player because I have enjoyed the outputs a ton, but the process of going through the skill is always just something. I don't know, man. Farming, it's so I hate. I just hate feeling like it feels bad ignoring it, but you have to do it.
For
I
sure.
don't know if you want to take over. I won't
Yeah,
I won't
sure.
spoil the
Um,
ranking yet,
I,
but I
I,
don't know
I
what you think about all
I
that.
mean, I definitely see what you're coming from. I think we always disagreed about farming a little bit. I also don't like dailyscape at all, and I don't like dailies in any MMO. I would say farming in some ways is kind of an exception because farming fits a different niche to dailies. Like dailies to me, the biggest issue a lot of the time is that they A feel like chores, but B, they never have a tangible output. It's always just like a kind of vague progression of your character that specifically correlates with the daily being done, whether it be XP gains or whatever else, and or like a very like narrow like this specific thing only comes from a daily. Farming is very different. It feels kind of like a management game to me more so than it does a daily, where
Mhm.
you're picking and choosing and crafting your path to take based on the information that you have. You're kind of theory crafting what things you want to do, what things you can do, what patches you can hit, what tree runs you can do, what fruit runs you can do. And because it integrates so much into the rest of the game, like everything drops sources for farming, it's like it just connects seamlessly to the rest of the game world. And considering that all the patches are in the overworld as well, so you see people constantly running around doing farmer runs, it makes the world feel more alive. And then on top of all that, the output yields the most important stuff, herb ingredients and stuff like that, that are really crucial to your PVM and just in general skilling. Um, so arguably one of the best outputs in the entire game, definitely the most mandatory, and because it fits that more management area in my brain, I'm not turned off of it as a timed piece of content. And obviously, you have the more diegetic reason of it's farming; it has to be timed in some way. That's part of the concept of the skill and the theme of the skill. So I actually love farming. It's not an S tier for me by any means because, as you pointed out, it's like there is a level of tedium to it. Like there just is. Um, so I would say farming is like a low A for me, honestly. I'm not even joking. I think it's like a low A for me.
Yeah, it's gonna go in B. It's gonna go high B though. Like it's
Yeah.
not,
Your mind has
obviously it's
changed
way more
a
interesting.
little bit since the beginning.
Yes, it's not, it's not abysmal. I think if I made a new character today, I would still have like the same growing pains I had with it
Yeah, it definitely has
initially
growing pains, no pun
because
intended.
again, the early game, I still think early game farming is just so annoying. Watching Mad Season do his, Iron Man journey guide list, seeing him like go to the hops patch and doing stuff there, I'm like throwing up in my mouth watching it. I can't believe it. But again, it's something that I can appreciate, something getting better over time, um, which farming absolutely is the case for that. And you get into a rhythm and you just come to sort of appreciate that. So, not bad,
Yep.
not bad.
Agreed. Agreed. Okay, fire making. I'll start on this one. I think fire making is a bad skill. Hot take. It is a bad skill, but it's not an offensive skill. Fire making is a very inoffensive skill for two reasons. One, it's very fast, so it never has any like issues with training it. And B, like as in like in regard to like being really really bored or whatever. And B, it has pretty good output for how much of a meme it is as a concept and like in practice. And the output I'm referring to is just Wintertod. It has no other uses but Wintertod, which is bad. It's like badly designed. Like don't get me wrong, it's a very badly designed skill. Like it can be removed tomorrow and just about nothing would be lost. It has no connection to any other skill, by the way. Don't get me wrong. Like people think, oh, fire making and woodcutting. No, it's fletching and woodcutting. Fire making is totally irrelevant. It's like this weird, like you fucking, black sheep of that trifecta, and it does not work at all. But Wintertod is chill. I enjoyed my grind to 99. I loved opening up all the crates. So I can't really hate it that much for it. So for me, it's like a C tier.
Yeah, I mean, see again, it's not offensive. It doesn't take long like agility does. Um, It is, the big thing that's bad about it is like fire making is Wintertod. Like people complain about the mini gamification, for lack of a better word, of like some of the skills, and like I think a lot of that, I think it's overblown for the most part. With fire making being like a clear outlier when it comes to that compared to all other mini games, like because the complaint is that a lot of mini games can like take value out of just, you know, classic skilling methods. Um, and again, I don't think that's usually been the case, but with firemaking, yeah, winter Todd is firemaking.
Certainly.
The only actual firemaking you do is the firemaking you have to do to get the minimum level requirement to do winter Todd, and then you do winter Todd. So it's like, yeah,
Yep.
you're not really convincing anybody with that. But as we've said, it's not completely offensive. It's whatever.
Yep, agreed. Fishing. I'll say fishing. Just it's right next to cooking to me. Where I would say maybe I'll say put it a little bit higher than cooking to be honest, because it does have temperos, which I really enjoy. But like it's very similar in that it's very chill. Doesn't have too many different trading methods, just different spots to do the same thing. Um, Although I will say it does have a diversity in that the diversity of locations helps, the diversity of the catches helps, the different methods, or I guess the different levels of AFK that comes with them, karambwans versus like, I don't know, sharks. So all that stuff makes it a little bit more palatable. And on top of that, I love Temperos. I think Temperos is a wonderfully designed encounter. So I'd say it's high B for me, maybe even low A, depending on the day.
This one's low A for me, like guaranteed. Um, I actually, so
Actually,
we
you're
think
right,
about the
Anthony.
output of
I'm
fishing.
sorry,
We
Redondo. You're right. A, low A.
Yeah, I mean, we think about the output of fishing, which is your food. And there's a bunch of different kinds of food that can be useful in the late game. You're gonna have crom ones, you're gonna have angler fish. I mean, those are the main two you're gonna actually be fishing in the end game. But throughout your progression of your account, you're gonna be going for early game fishing, going for salmon. So the output's nice. Temperos, as you said, super amazing minigame, one of the best minigames in RuneScape. Um, and then if we just look at training methods, there's actually a huge variety of training methods in the game related to fishing. Like you have your AFK, you have your Karam ones. You have more active methods where you're going for anglerfish, which isn't really great XP, but you're getting anglers. It's amazing. And then you have like barb fishing.
Yeah, that's true. Like
Um,
tick fishing and all that kind of stuff.
yeah. You have the underwater fishing in Fossil Island. Like there's so many just nice methods that they all I feel like they all have their place to an extent. um and I really appreciate that. So good output and like a huge diversity of methods within the same minigame. I mean, it's to me it's clearly A.
Okay, no, that's valid. That's valid. I support that. I'd say A as well. I do like fishing. I think it's one of those skills that's very quintessential RuneScape. Like it's funny. It's been around for as long as firemaking has, and yet it has such a much. It's so much more like tangible as a thing in the game. So yeah, I definitely prefer it. Uh, okay, fletching. I'll let you go first on fletching.
Yeah, so I just sort of mentioned yeah, Veil Totems at the time of this video just recently got added. And I mean, in my opinion, a great addition to the game. um, just to start off. Super nice training method to add to fletching. Which if this tier list was done before the minigame was added, I fletching probably would have went in C tier. Um, the 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 output, of course, is your ammunition and some early game weapons. Um, which that's probably one of the bigger disappointing parts of fletching is there's not really a huge emphasis on your weapons. The biggest, I'm pretty sure, is just getting like the level to make blowpipe, and then beyond that it's just crafting your ammunition. So I think that's probably the biggest disappointment for me when it comes to fletching is you're not really using it for weaponry out of the early game. um,
Yeah,
and then yeah, ammunition, again, they're all done pretty much the same way. I mean, darts, yeah, you spam 1 2 click, and then for arrows, they're all done the same way. And then your standard training method is just going to be making broad arrows, which is just not, it's not that engaging.
yeah,
So
I will say fletching has the exact same issue as crafting to me. Maybe to a lesser extent, but it does still have that same
definitely a
issue.
lesser.
Yeah, lesser extent, but like, and it has that activity, which is great. But like, and that crafting doesn't have anything like that. But I will
Yep.
say, like, the issue with fletching is that just like crafting, it is not balanced at all. like level 80, what is it? Level 80, 75 fletching for a magic short bow. Like it's just so
Yep.
obnoxiously stupid. And the only reason it's like this, the only reason is like it's because it's old. And any other game would have rebalanced it by now, but because a lot of the community is very precious about what can and can't change, it would be very controversial. And but then again, these things don't have much of a stay in the economy. So just like making magic short bows, what are they, like 2K? What are they going to be, like 1.5K? It's not going to
Yep.
break anything. And it would make sense for them to rebalance those things and rebalance the way the magic logs work in woodcutting as well, because all of this stuff is just such irrelevant pieces of content. It's just a waste of time essentially, and I think that's bad. I don't think that's good. I think adding stuff on top of it to make it slightly better is nice, like Veil Totems. But at the end of the day, your ultimate training method for fletching is going to be fucking broad arrows still. And that's the issue with crafting, right? You make molten glass to throw it out with lenses, or whatever you make with it. The same applies to broad arrows. You don't do anything with them. You don't use them because they're bad. And ultimately, they're just kind of a means to an end, which sucks. I would say it has more, as you said, like tangible stuff. Like not only can you like fix up blowpipes and stuff, which is neat, but also you
Yeah.
get like actual ammunition, which is nice. I wish there was better ways to get ammunition, but that's still kind of nice. So I would say fletching. Oh man.
Yeah, just to add on a little bit to what I was talking about with
Yeah.
the weapons, you make a toxic blowpipe at 78 fletching. This is one of the best range weapons in the game. You make it 78, and then there's nothing after that. Um, let's go over here. You can make your heavy ballista at 72 if that's something you're getting. The highest level like weapon they realistically gonna make that could come from fletching is a web weaver at 85, which I mean, sure, that's great, but again, like the output of weapons just isn't really there. Not saying that it has to be, but it just kind of sucks that there's like this space for this skill that's supposed to support the range combat skill, and it's not really, you're not really thinking about it in that way, and you're not really, as Mr. Wise here said, you can't really source the materials for like your dragon ammunition very well. It just comes from PVM stuff, which I get why in practice, but it just kind of feels weird.
Yeah, it's very unsatisfying. Again,
Yeah.
we understand why, but it's very unsatisfying. Just as a gameplay loop, it's unsatisfying. And I guess sourcing things like you would farming makes sense, but the sources are so inconsistent, unlike seeds, that it's just very, very lame. I would say fletching. I mean, if I'm feeling kind of good because of Veil Totem, originally it would be like C tier, but because Veil Totems really
Yeah.
fix a lot of our issues with crafting and like having those leftover things, I'd pull it a low B tier for me.
Like, like it's tough. It could still be C tier. Like it's definitely C tier before, and even with Veil Totems, it might still be C tier because the output of Veil Totems is for the most part the fletching knife. Um, there you've got the spool and the bale flax, which are neat, but they're not like crazy. And then it's a way of you can get some of that ammunition we were talking about, which is nice. And then beyond all that, it's just you know it's your winter Todd. It's I'm doing this method. It's giving me insane XP per hour. eh, Easy, a way to get to 99 without just mindlessly making broad arrows, which
And
is which is good.
and I will say, but the thing I like it is how cyclical it is. It recycles the stuff you have left over, which I like. I think like
Yes.
just having a game that would recycle stuff, even if the output of that game isn't like something crazy, is good, right?
Yeah.
Because then you're not just left over with a bunch of bloat left, in your bank or
Yeah,
whatever.
that's a good point.
So
Yeah,
like,
okay, B.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
recycling is definitely a good thing because that's exactly what my problem with crafting is.
Yeah, I would say more skills need to do more with recycling, but
Yeah,
yeah. So that's a low B for me, but it's a B, I would say.
yeah.
What about Herblore?
Okay, we gotta rip this off, right? Oh, hmm. Do we start with the new minigame they added for it?
Mastering mixology.
Yep. It's because pun pun sort of intended. It's a mixed bag for me on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how much the minigame
I
changes my perspective on the skill, to be honest. That's how much of like
maybe
a
I guess just to talk about the skill
yeah,
broadly. I mean, definitely some of the better outputs of the skills, like
yeah,
potions are amazing. Um, Sourcing some of them, again, as an Iron Man, can be tedious. Like I view prayer and super restores in a very mixed way because like they should be a resource that you have to think about. It's not something you should use willy nilly, but at the same time, it can feel bad having that in the back of your head when you're trying to do content. But I think the balance is mostly there. Like it's not something I'm like heavily thinking about. Like I think it's mostly fine. Um, and again, you get super useful potions, you get combat pots. Um, I think the pots themselves have a huge diversity of effects, which makes the game more interesting. Like it's so funny. Something I something I would love to see is to show a bunch of new players like Sarah Doman Brews because I think an initial reaction to seeing those is to think they're terrible, but
yeah.
like in practice they're the best healing item in the game. Which I think is it's interesting. Um, I don't know what thoughts you
Yeah,
have.
I'd say it's a very it's a mixed bag, I guess, for me. Like on one hand, I love it because the output's great. I think the way you do it is kind of interesting, and it gives farming even more like more of a rewarding aspect to it. Because of the output is so good. I would say it's almost too good in some ways. They kind of alleviated this a bit with agility changes that they made, but like, my God, man, like the stamina pots being the best way to run around is so silly. It's just so dumb.
Yeah,
The fact that like
that was definitely a
Herblore
big problem.
is a better source of stamina than agility, the entire skill of agility is so dumb. Um, it's also they're also ubiquitous for any combat, both from a prayer and a damage perspective, which is a little insane if you think about it, but that's what it is. That's the game we play. It's good. I like Herblore. I think that when it comes to sourcing, it's a mixed bag in that the sourcing really depends on what you do. I think things like Sandfew serums just suck. They just flat out suck. I hate
Yep.
them. I hate that they're pretty much mandatory on certain encounters because of how much they suck to obtain. Again, from an Iron Man perspective, as a main, you can just, I don't know, buy a bond and buy them. But like, it's just, my God. Um, Sandfews are a great example of something that just like, it's just such a dick. So I would say it's a low B for me. It's a low B for me. It's like a little bit above Fletching, I would say.
Maybe. So to talk about the minigame a little bit too, because I think it's a
Oh
big
yeah, yeah.
part
Talk about that.
of Herblore at this point. So I mean, pros of Master Mixology. I think it's some of the best like output of a minigame for a skill of any skill. Like the rewards you get from it are
Yeah.
so nice. Like potion storage. Like I know people were like flaming it because it messed with their bank layouts. I'm my IQ's too low to figure that crap out. So for me, it was just more bank space. So I loved it. Um,
And the layout's not that
you
bad
know,
either.
getting
I'm so used to using it. I can't go back to the all day long,
yeah,
to be
it's
honest.
so fine. Like I'm so like fine with it. Like I never understood the like because I mean people were like actively angry about it, how it messed with their bank. But I thought it was just objectively better.
Yep.
But but you've got other things too. You've got the goggles, chance to save resources. You've got the alchemist necklace or whatever it's called. Um,
Yeah, the outputs for
have a
that
chance to
skill
get four
or activity
doses.
is so
Like
crazy.
it's super nice. The chugging barrel, which I don't even use the chugging barrel too much, but like it's one of those things where like I just loved all the rewards from minigame. I got all the rewards from it. Like the only thing I haven't gotten from that minigame are the cosmetics that I just don't
You don't
care
care
to
about
like get a
those, yeah.
collection log out of. Um,
I kind of
that's
wish
been
that
so it's been great.
I kind of wish that that the fletching minigame had outputs that good, right? Because they are insane. Like those outputs are
Yep.
crazy. They're crazy. So yeah, so that really helps. But again, it's that
But the
thing of like,
cons.
yeah. The cons.
So the cons is that I just don't understand how they structured like the point system with the skill. I think that's like the worst part of it. Um, I understand
Oh,
splitting up into like the
you mean
three colors.
the minigame. the activity.
Right, the minigame itself, because like you got to get these, so you got to get these three different types of points which you spend to get the rewards, and the way they split it out, it just felt really jarring because ideally you would get into a flow state where you get your potion order and you kind of just are making them, you're sending them, and it's a nice flow state. But if you do that, you end up just wasting a lot of time because you're going to end up with a lot of excess points, especially I forget what they're exactly called, but the green points. You will end up with so much excess of those that are useless because for some reason the points aren't they're not costed equally on the items you buy in the shop. What you end up seeing is green is usually the cheapest, probably because the herbs that you input into them or whatever, but
Makes
it
it feel like
just
a
it just
waste.
feels weird. So when I was going for the items, instead of getting to a flow state where I'm just like vibing and crafting, I have to go, okay, here are my points. Here's my order. I need to not make these two because they're a waste of time because I need to get these points up. Because even though you'll get more points on a full order, because you get bonus points when you do all three for everything you put in, it's still just not worth it. You just want to make the one that gives you the points that you want and move on to the next thing, hoping you get an order that's really good. So it just feels weird. It's not like it's not fun to work with. So that's my biggest con with the mini game. So it's a mixed bag there. But overall with the skill, I mean, again, the output's just so good. It's so good.
Yeah. So what would you put it on the tier list?
I think low A because
Oh,
like
low A.
overall I
Wow.
still really enjoyed the minigame. Like when I can just get into a flow state with the minigame, it's amazing. The rewards are great. And then Herblore on its own, there's a satisfaction in farming them up or getting them from PVM or whatever. And you just blast some potions out. It's great.
Yep. Okay, that's valid. Very valid. Um, I mean, okay. The next thing is hit points.
Hit points.
I don't know. I'll
Wow.
C, I guess, like next to defense.
Yep. Then
Um,
like we yapped about Herblore for like 50 hours. Not yapping about
yeah.
that one.
Well, talking about yapping, Hunter. I know you have some opinions on him. I do too. This is probably my least favorite skill in the game. Like I genuinely hate Hunter, and a lot of people love Hunter though. That's the thing, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, I love the rumors, I love all that. I hate all that. Like I legitimately hate all of those things. Rumors to me are like fine. Like they're just they're just worse Slayer tasks because
Yep.
what you're doing is just Hunter, which is bad. I hate Hunter. So that's the problem. And my main issue with doing Hunter is that it it like not only is the output dog shit, like 99% of the time you're getting the most pointless nonsense imaginable. Not only that, but the method is just anti-flow state. Unless you're doing chinchampas and tick manipulating chinchampas, which is very satisfying. I do like doing that, but that's the only thing I like. Everything else is just this RNG nightmare of like waiting. Maybe the Larupia will jump over the fucking thing over and over and over. It's dude, I hate it all. I hate every hunter training method apart from chinchampas,
Yep.
maybe sometimes, and maybe the uh what's his name? Herbivore. Like everything else is just it's just unbearable. Like black salamanders are like the way I got it to 70, I believe, or around there for the elf finale quest, right? For the Prifddinas quest. And
Hmm.
you don't do anything with that. It's literally just a means to an end, just like the crafting issue. You're catching stuff just to drop it because it has no value. And that just is bad. That's a bad thing. That's a means to an end skill that does not integrate into the rest of the game in any meaningful capacity. Hunter needs to integrate. Even if the skilling methods are bad, it needs to actually integrate into the game. It needs to offer something that other skills don't. And right now, the two best training methods are chinchampas, which you don't do as an Iron Man because you need to stack up like thousands of them to train your ranged. By that point, you'll already have 99 range. Or fucking herbivore, which just gives you herbs, which other things give faster. So it's so like such a nothing fucking skill. I will say that it has so much more potential than skills like firemaking, than skills like smithing. I mean, no, that's not wrong. Smithing has a lot of potential, but skills like agility have like no potential really. But Hunter really does. And that's why sailing is coming out soon. And they're apparently adding a rhythm based hunter method. So I could very well change my perspective if that method's really good. But for now, I would put it right next to agility in fucking D tier. Holy shit, I hate hunter.
Yep. It's definitely going. It's going in the same place for me. Like again, I think we'll have a somewhat similar conversation with Runecraft when we get to it. But what really just annoys me about Hunter that you slightly talked about is just there are all of these Hunter methods. There are so many different things you do with the Hunter's skill. What is the output for all of them? Almost nothing. You have Chinchampas, which you can use in God Wars dungeon on Armadil. You can use it as this niche busted training method in Cox if that's I don't know if you're a content creator, I guess, because I feel like that's the only people who realistically do that
Well,
crap.
you could do the
Um,
Chinchampa training method in just like the
yeah,
on
you
the
can do it in the Monkey
Monkey
Madness.
Madness area.
Yeah, like there's a couple ways to do it. Like that's like what you would use it for is like range training, I guess, which I also don't even think is that worth it, but it does exist. Um,
Chinchampas are like the only valuable, unique to
they
Hunter
are.
output, and they're just not something most people do. Just like fun fact, right? Go to any wilderness world where people are hunting black chins. It's 99% bots because no one actually wants to do it. If the best way to see if something is dog shit is if most of it is just bots, because that should tell you that no one actually wants to do the skill, and that creates a vacuum of like a desire of necessity, and that's where the bots fill in on that. No one wants to do this skill. Obviously, most people, I should say, don't want to do the skill. So it's botted to all hell because people do have a huge need for black chins for whatever main training method they have. So that's a huge problem. It's just the skill is just a problem, and that's why they can add a new skilling boss to it. I know that's something they worked on in the past game jam. Stuff like that could be very good.
Yeah, I mean more methods is fine, and like it again, it's just such a disappointment because Hunter Rumors, I feel like was their plan to like just spice up Hunter and like make you do stuff besides just getting Chinchampas, which is a good idea in concept, but again, what is the output? Fucking nothing. It's just there. It's just a number to get up and nothing else. And that just feels that always feels bad.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That it's a what so we're blah, blah, blah. Oh
It's
my god,
D.
it's late, bro. It's late. What do you
Yeah,
say? It's D?
placement's going to be important here. It is D tier behind agility. I like agility more than Hunter
Damn.
because at least with agility, your run energy is improved. It is improved, and you do get shortcuts as kind of shit as they are. They could be a lot better. They still exist. Hunter has nothing. It has nothing.
Nothing. Okay. Uh Magique. I will say Magique is my other S tier skill. As much as I like, here's the problem. Ah, fuck. Actually, it's so bad for combat. It's so bad for combat. No, it can't be S tier. That's so sad. It can't be S tier for me. It's actually gonna be low A tier because as much as I think the output for Magic, with all the teleports, all the utility, all the horizontal stuff with Magic is so amazing and it's so well designed and it integrates so well into construction, it integrates so well into other skills. It makes certain things really interesting. The combat in Magic is incomprehensibly terrible. It's terribly designed. The progression is horrible. There's like 3 weapons that are mean anything past level 60. It's awful. There's barely any like diversity in what you equip or how you equip it or how you use it. There's nothing interesting at the end game for Magic. It's just such a barren combat landscape. I would say the only unique part of Magic is bursting combat wise.
Yeah, it's something that I think has gotten better in the early and mid game, with elemental weaknesses. Like the Twin Flame Staff is an amazing early to mid game weapon
Yeah.
that people can get from the Royal Titans. So in that sense, I feel like it's gotten better. But again, the end game, it's still the same. It's like you just go for these insane powered staves, and that's like magic. Bursting, as you said, it's the only form of interesting combat for a magic, and then everything else kind of just it's super boring, and it's so interesting because if you if you looked at Magic, if you're like as if rating on a tier list, if you looked at Magic purely from the utility and non-combat um, things that it gives you, there's an argument to be made that it's more useful than construction.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I don't know which way I would swing on that, but like there is an argument someone could make, and it could go either way. But it just the combat side of Magic really does bring it down a whole letter tier.
Yep, true. Okay, it's an A for me. Maybe a low to
Yeah.
mid A. Mining, I don't know. Mining is just kind of one of those skills that is outdated. We've talked about a bit of those. It just doesn't serve much of a purpose other than the stuff that's tacked onto it, like post hoc. It is one of those skills that like the actual meat of the skill is totally irrelevant. It's just these like tiny niche ways they found it to make it a bit more relevant, like amethyst, like sandstone. But at the end of the day, it's just a bad skill, and I think it's fundamentally bad. Like the way you do mining is bad. It does not feel good to sit there and smack an ore randomly, and then deplete it randomly, and then wait randomly, and then kit it again randomly. It's just I don't like anything about the way you train mining. I would say there's a satisfaction to take manipulating sandstone, but that's pretty much it. I mostly just AFK'd shooting stars, which is not a good thing for a skill. So mining is like a low C for me because I would say the output of the amethysts is nice. The sandstone is kind of satisfying sometimes, and it has so much potential, but I just feel so outdated to me.
Yeah, I you bring up shooting stars, and it's super interesting because I think conceptually having a skill that has various forms of training and output that vary in terms of like intensity, I think is good. I think it's good for the game to have variance in that. Um, but when you have a skill like mining, where shooting stars, the XP is really not that great. It's like what 30k ish an hour.
Yeah.
It's not that insane. The fact though that it is like the overwhelming method used to level mining over everything else goes to show how weak it is as a skill and the output it delivers, especially later on. Like again, um, following the trend of like the improvements they've been making to the early and mid game in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of things early players can do. A big example is mining bone shards in Camtorum, which I think is incredible.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Um,
Actually, I forgot about that. Yeah, bone shards is great.
like that is a good thing, but again, um, it feels like this weird place. I feel like in a lot of things Jagex has been doing, um, with adding new methods to certain skills. It feels like a lot of focus lately has been on the early game, mid game, which is fine. But like, I wonder if there's like a hesitancy to make changes that'll affect like near end game strategies. Like, when was the last time? I mean, I guess I shouldn't say when was the last time we literally just got veiled totems, which is something you do until you're gonna do until 99 now. But like, I don't know. I feel like a lot of methods for getting to 99 have been the same for a long time for most skills. Um, and it's been the case for a while where mining, you just kind of do shooting stars at a certain point. You really don't give a fuck. You could do amethyst as an iron if you want at some point. Um, and that's kind of it.
Yeah, agreed. So where does it land for you?
I'm gonna say C. It has enough interesting outputs to avoid the D tier.
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
Uh,
and again, like it could be worse. I do think the strength of star mining is too strong, but as a player, what is the output? The output is I get to AFK a skill giga hard in the game when I do something else, which like to an extent I can still appreciate that.
sure, that's valid. Prayer. I will say about prayer. This is what I'll say about prayer. The prayer is probably arguably the most unique skill in RuneScape. I don't think any other game has ever had a skill like this. Like maybe any other MMO, I should say, that I've ever heard of has ever had a skill that works like this and operates like within the same thematic elements. It's really unique. It's really unique. And it's the way it works is really unique. I can't think of many skills that have these like kind of incremental buffs that operate on like a management system that's external to the skill itself. It's really, really, really interesting. And I wouldn't want prayer to operate any other way. That alone makes it super interesting and unique and just kind of like an integral facet of the game. It's also, not to be super dorky, but I guess to be super dorky is it's also just thematically appropriate to the game, right? Like the whole concept of Gielinor being an anagram for religion and all that, religions being the dominating forces of the game world, makes sense that prayer is a skill, right? It makes total sense. It fits so well. And it doesn't just fit like cooking and fishing and fucking, woodcutting does, where it's every survival game trope ever. Um, it fits in a very unique niche that's established only by the game like this. So I love prayer in that way. I will say my biggest issue with it though are just how lacking in diversity the training methods are. We can speak to mining in the Camtorum mines, I believe, right? That's a really cool, unique thing they added. It's obviously very low experience rates, but it's something. I would love to see a mini game for prayer though, like a super active, interesting prayer mini game that has an actual XP output, not like a 15K an hour thing, maybe like a 60, 70, 80, 90K experience XP an hour output. That's not like the 800, 1 million you can get doing Will the Altar, but it is something more tangible for people that actually want to play the game and not just fight PvP or PvPers the whole time. So PKers the whole time. I Other than that though, honestly, it's one of my favorites. What do you think?
Yeah, like the progression of prayer is just it's so satisfying. Um, what was kind of unfortunate for me early on is like I couldn't really appreciate it too much. Like prayer was probably, and maybe this is just me, but maybe one of like the more confusing things in the game for a new player to kind of like understand like what is the point and why are these people like flicking them? What does this even mean?
The flicker.
Um, the flicker. Um, and then eventually you just go to a point where you just have piety and you're like, okay, this is doing more damage, and you just kind of thumbs up. And then like, as you really understand the game, you're like, okay, this shit is bonkers. This is crazy. Um, so that was a little unfortunate for me, like getting into the game. Like I could not appreciate how nice it was to get my prayer up, unlock these new prayers. Um, and they just hit so hard, and I like how it branches all the way from the very beginning, where you have your starting prayers. um you're having to combine like your steel skin, your ultimate strength, your reflexes, and then it all gets baked um all into one, and then you're getting into an end game raid, which is then giving you your best prayers. um I love that progression curve for prayer. Um, and then as you said, just like one and another thing to add on to that is it's one of the few skills in the game where like going from 90 to 99 still has like a tangible like output, where a lot of skills once you hit 90 you're kind of just getting a number up in a lot of cases. Obviously there's exceptions here and there, but I feel like they're very few and far between. Whereas prayer, every level, your prayer is going up, and that is a resource that you're able to stretch out just a little bit more.
Yeah.
And you do feel that. Like I still remember doing Cerberus, and like I got my prayer up a little bit while I was doing that long ass grind, 3K dry for an Eternal Crystal, by the way. Um, I'm traumatized still. But I giga pushed my prayer, and then it made dealing with the ghosts a lot easier, because before I was guaranteed to just like get drained to zero, and that was something I had to deal with. And then I got up a little bit, and then I wasn't fully drained. That's just like one example where like every level I felt something from prayer. So combining all together, it's so good.
Yep. So question is, where do you want to put it?
Um, this is tough. I think at minimum it goes high A.
Yeah, that's the part. I'm like, I know it's A. I don't know if it's
I
S,
think
but
I
like,
don't
I
think it's S, because the
I don't like the training
I
methods
mean the
that
way you,
much. I just don't like the
yeah,
training methods
the
that
training
much.
methods are not good. And calling them training methods is like, I feel like sort of a misnomer too, because it's not something you train, it's something that like you accumulate and then you kind of just like blow off in like one thing, whether it's doing the Chaos Altar and Wildy, which is super toxic and annoying.
Yeah, I hate the Chaos
Um,
Altars so much. It's
and
the
then
least favorite thing
the
ever.
new method in Varlamore with the Sunfire Wines or and the Bone Shards. Um, so like one actual training method I could like you can make an argument for is like the Ensouled Heads, which has good output too. Um, and it does go to show, like, I think there's a lot of nice sources of prayer that aren't just bones from dragons or getting bone shards from here. It's like there's variance in that, but again, it's tough
Yeah, it
because
is. I so yeah, I'll give it the strongest A I can. Because yeah, if they add like a mini game for prayer of some kind or an activity that's not like the best XP ever, but it's just something cool and maybe gives you some cool prayer related stuff too. It would be an easy S tier up there with construction to me. But yeah, the
yeah,
lack of diverse training methods really kind of makes prayer a bit less in my mind. Um, I like both methods of construction, especially after the changes to make like the super giga, click intensive version a little bit more, palatable in regards to the way it's keybound. And I like mahogany homes too. Both are like good training methods for the best output in the game, in my opinion, for the most like interesting output in the game. Prayer has one of the most interesting outputs in the game, but none of the training methods really resonate with me. I like the wines. Sorry, the bone shards in Volamore with like being augmented by wines and all that. Very thematically appropriate, very cool, but obtaining them is just not something I love too much. So it's
yeah,
it that's the way I feel about prayer. Ranged, again, it's just a worse combat style than the melee ones. It has the same issue with magic, but just less so. It has more diversity and itemization, but still not anywhere near melee. Where it falls behind though is it offers nothing else. It's just a worse version of melee, and I don't like how ubiquitous items become. I have not done anything but use my bofa and maybe my blowpipe on
yeah.
occasion since I got it like a year ago. So I mean, I'll be quick and short about this. I think range is like a high C.
Yeah, like, and that's really the biggest thing. Not even just with weapons, like, because weapon diversity I feel is super low. With range, like, could even, I mean, it's like equal in magic, which is super funny, I feel. Um, but also the gear is also probably the least interesting out of the three combat styles. I feel like magic at least has some diversity in its gearing. Like at least at the end game, you have Virtus and you have Ancestral.
Yeah.
Um, even Ancestral has its place and its niche, which I think is super good in the end game, where like items don't just have to power creep themselves infinitely. It's you give them niches, and that's exactly what they did for Magic. So you have your niche with Ancients on Virtus, and that's great. Just as an example, or like range, it's like you have Bofa for the longest time until either it's an iron, you get your T-bow, very lucky, or you buy your T-bow as a main, and then you get your Masori with that, and then you'll get your ZCB from next, and that's
Yep.
just your spec button, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree with
That's
that.
it.
I completely agree with that. I think that, yeah, I mean, do you agree then it's like a C tier, like a high C tier
Yeah,
maybe?
pretty much. And then again, like the gearing, like range strength has still been like a bizarre thing to like understand. Um, as I was getting into the game, like, oh, melee has this melee strength and like these cool magic items. They have this percent magic damage because that's cool. Oh, and these range items, oh, they just have accuracy. What?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's just, yeah, they need to standardize that in some way. I don't like how any of that works. For sure. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, for Runecraft, I mean, again, I'll be try to be as short as I can with this skill. It has one output. I would say that Guardians of the Rift really softened it a little bit, where doing that minigame early gives runes earlier on, and there is a level of satisfaction with accumulating those in the early mid game. Sorry, I should say the mid, like the middle of early game is when you start doing Guardians of the Rift, and I enjoy that output. When you get like 54, you can start making law runes, right? Like there's a level of, there's it's something cool about that. Um, and then it's literally blood runes.
Yep.
And there's two training methods because I mean, unless you do ZMI, um, and both of them I think get pretty stale. I would say that Guardians of the Rift is a good mini game, but it's just not something I want to do till max. And this really stems from just Runecraft to me being horribly balanced XP rate wise. I know it's a hot take to say that something should give more experience rates in old school RuneScape, but my God, Runecraft is just truly the most miserable skill. Like 30k an hour doing blood runes, which is not AFK by any means, and it gives like about the same as AFKing mining does. It is just totally incomprehensible how terrible the XP rates are for this skill. And to me, it would unironically become a lot more palatable if they tripled them. And even then, it would still be one of the slowest skills in the game. By the way, if they tripled the rates for like the blood rune crafting and all that for 90 to 90k an hour, it would still be one of the slowest skills in the game. So like, I don't know. It's just I hate how slow it is, and I hate the output. It's very boring. Both are really boring. And I would say maybe stacking up blood runes is a level of satisfaction there. So I'd probably put it above Hunter and agility. But beyond that, it's a D tier for me.
Yeah, I don't think it escapes the D tier. It's definitely ahead of them, just of agility and hunter, just because the output, as minimal as it is, it's
It's
still
better.
there compared to those two. Like at least an output exists that actually gives you something. But yeah, I mean, I and something that's interesting is like wrath runes exist,
Oh my God,
but you
yes.
have
I
to be
forgot about that.
95 to craft it.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna you're not gonna use them. You're never gonna use them anyway.
Yeah,
What
Wrath
are they
runes
gonna be useful
are
for?
Wrath. I have like I want to make a whole fucking. I'm not gonna do it, but I want to make a whole video on Wrath runes because that it's just the most incomprehensible thing in the world. It's like you get access to spells that are worse than spells you would have by that point in your gameplay. So they're only used for mains that buy them from the auction house because no one's making
Yeah.
from like bots, right? Like it's so bizarre. I say auction house, Jesus Christ, GE. Oh my God, it's just awful. I would say, yeah, Wrath runes are terrible. So yeah, you'd say D tier.
Yeah, I mean I say D tier. Like maybe it's a hot take wrath runes, you should be able to make them at like 75 Runecraft.
Yeah,
And
right.
then
Or
it's something that
I guess a bit over blood runes, so like 86, maybe 87 would be reasonable for Wrath runes.
I mean I say 75 because it's a decent gap between death to
But
wrath.
you use bloods in at least spells.
Yeah, I guess you do use bloods. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it'd
But
be
I don't
like
know, that might still be hot. Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm forgetting about blood.
because
Yeah,
82 is
my brain
blood. So
farted there.
82 is blood. So death is 75. 82 is blood. Wrath runes should be like 87. You know?
But 77 is blood.
Oh, is
So I
this
think 82
77?
wrath.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought
77 is
82 was
blood.
blood. Okay, if blood is, oh, so death is 70, 77. Yeah, so 82, that would be like perfect progression. Perfect, right? And then you can keep souls at 90. Like that fits. That like we just
Yeah.
fixed progression
Because
for rune
the
crafting.
whole again, the whole idea is you can get the blood runes to use your, are they called, what is it, surge? I always
Yeah,
forget the
surge
names
spells, yeah.
of the basic spells. Cool. And then you have a stepping stone to wrath, which will be the highest level elemental spells that you can use for combat, which is at the tail end of when you're gonna still maybe be using elemental spells in combat, especially again with elemental weaknesses that they've added into the game that mid game players might still be leveraging with their activities. But it's at 95, which I'm not even at 95, and I ain't casting elemental spells
Ever,
anymore. I'm not
ever,
doing that.
ever. Like it's just so
So like
dumb.
it makes no sense. Oh,
Yeah, I mean, I think like so I'm curious, like when it comes to, so to you, would rune crafting just be a tier above if they just rebalance the level brackets?
I think it would go a tier up because like again, it's just such an egregious thing that if they fix that, I think it'd be good for character progression
Yeah, agreed.
in the game.
Like here's the thing, like people get upset about Iron Man changes or whatever, but like you got to think also, what does this change for mains? Nothing. It changes nothing. The price of them is already dog shit. Like they're already just about as cheap as blood runes, even though they have such a much higher requirement. So the pricing is not going to change all too much from it. I guess maybe it'll go down a little bit, but like name a single main
It would
making
go
wrath.
down,
Yeah, but I
but
mean, name a main making wrath runes for money though.
yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, it's just horrible. Anyway, the yeah, runecrafting is a high D for me. Slayer, you feel free to start us off on Slayer.
Oh, why would you want me to start off? Why would you want the guy who got the gim, the imbued heart, to start
Yeah, I
off?
mean, let me know how you
Who
feel.
obsessively did this skill? So this is where we may, because I feel like we've like mostly agreed on placements for this list, but I think this is where we're gonna have a very clear um, divide
Okay.
in this. Maybe not great divide, but a divide to say the least. So, um, pop quiz. What is the most AFK skill in RuneScape? Is it mining? Is it cooking? Is it fishing? They're all nope, they're all wrong. It's Slayer. Slayer is the most AFK skill in the game. Park me next to some blood velds with a venator bow or some araxites, dagonos. The list goes on. Slayer is the most AFK skill. As a man, as a hardworking man who does his equivalent 9 to 5 type job, you know what? Being able to pop up my phone and do it while I'm at work was an experience.
Did you
It
get the
was
imbued heart at
wonderful.
work? Did you get the imbued heart at work?
No, I
Okay.
actually got it at home,
Okay. Okay.
um,
I remember when you called me for that.
by
Yeah.
chance. But the amount of superiors I have killed on mobile versus on desktop is probably like 3 to 1. The amount of AFK Slayer I did on my phone was crazy. Um, so Slayer, most AFK skill. That's a big plus for me as a player. Um, Now to actually get into what Slayer can actually provide, they just recently reworked it, which, funny enough, I don't know will really factor in to my opinion on Slayer because at the time the Slayer changes came out, I'm pretty much done with Slayer currently until they decide to add another Slayer boss to the game.
Yep.
Um, we have both gotten every item from every Slayer boss that we need. We have an imbued heart. We don't really need a second one. Um, yeah, that's it. And for me, Slayer was I I guess to start with the cons of Slayer, which again, I think the Slayer changes alleviated a lot of these problems. The biggest problem being early Slayer. Early Slayer it was again one of those things where you wanted to minimize to the best of your ability the amount of actual Slayer you did, and you boosted your XP through all the quests that you could, and then you had to power through until you got to mid 70s, and then you could start getting some good tasks. And then later on, you'll start to get bosses which have, your PVM and your outputs for upgrades. Um, I think that progression curve has gotten improved with the Slayer changes. So doing early game Slayer can actually feel a bit satisfying and give you a good output. And then that leads you into doing more and more PVMing and developing you as a player, which I think gets missed a bit because Slayer introduces you to a lot of different types of gameplay in PVM. So, because people think about Slayer and just, oh, you're just thinking about, oh, you're gonna camp, pray melee, and you're just gonna whack stuff. And sure, that exists, but it's gonna introduce you to bursting with ancients. That's usually like the first big thing you get into as you level up in Slayer, and then you start getting some of your first bosses. Um, you have gargoyles. I mean, those bosses you're not really gonna do a whole lot. I mean, let's just go through the list. We don't have to. We don't have to sit here and wonder about this. Um, so I would say the first big boss you get is Kraken and Abyssal Sire, which they also just recently reworked. Um, those are good, and I mean those output some big upgrades for your account, and they teach you mechanics that are stepping stones to doing other content in the game. Leads to Cerberus, Araxor, Hydra. Um, all these bosses aren't particularly crazy in terms of difficulty, but their output is great. They feed into your combat stats, which is why, again, we won't go back to like chin chomping, desert treasure bosses. I think that's pointless. Just do Slayer. That's how you're gonna level up your combats. Uh, but the outputs are just so great. It's amazing. Slayer is a very polarizing skill. I think it's one of those skills where a lot of players it's S tier. For a lot of other players, it's like D tier. You either love it or you hate it. I don't know where Mr. Wise will end up. But for me, I have sunk in the most time into Slayer through my entire time playing my Iron Man. Um, and it's always been such a nice thing to fall back on, and chase certain items. And in the mid game, progress my account. I yapped a lot there.
Yep.
I think we
No,
knew I
it's
was going to yap a lot on
no,
Slayer,
it's
but
all good. I think like I'm more mixed on Slayer. I don't hate it or anything, but the main issue with Slayer, and you've heard me talk about this a lot, is the fact that it's pretty much a completely irrelevant and pointless skill up until level 75. And even at
mhm.
75, the only time it becomes relevant is for gold making off gargoyles and steel bars, I guess. That's just lame. Like that's just
Yep.
bad. It just sucks. And if they find a way to make Slayer something that people actually like, there's a level of actual output early on rather than just something you slog through to get to level 75 to eventually get to the part where killing mobs is fun again. Like right now, I should not say right now. At 1 through 75, it's just killing creatures in an inconvenient way. That's all Slayer is. And it's awful. And it has the same issue as crafting, as fletching, where all the, I guess fletching doesn't have this issue anymore, but with crafting especially, I guess fletching does with broad bolts, where there's nothing to gain. It is a totally irrelevant output other than the combat experience you gain from it. And due to this, Slayer really falls behind. And while you can say, well, the first 75 levels, that's not the majority of the skill, but it's the majority of the skill from like a content perspective. Like there's so many creatures and stuff between 1 and 75 there that are totally non-existent. They may as well be removed from the game. So that alone restricts it to below an A tier, in my opinion, because when so much of a skill is totally stupid, it just doesn't work for me. I would say the AFKing elements are nice. Of course, after level 75, specifically realistically after level 85, Slayer does become much more fun for output, like really fun for output. It's fun to chase certain items. It's fun to get those items. It's fun to like see that big drop. And Slayer is one of the only skills that gives that big drop, so that's really cool. Uh, the thing that really saves Slayer for me, for as mixed as they are as a bag, are the Slayer bosses. I love the concept. I wish there were ways to get them more consistently because I would always do them if I could. I love Araxor. I even love Hydra. I don't love the other ones all too much, but just the fact that they exist and there's more gonna there will be added always keeps a skill that you might as well be done with relevant, which is cool. So that alone makes me more amicable toward it as a skill. And ultimately, it's something I will be generous with, in my opinion, and give a low B tier to, above fletching though. What do you think? Where does it go for you, Regondo?
uh, like you said, I the big negative is the output of Slayer is just so
Top
abysmal
heavy.
early on, very top heavy. Um, you know, where I reconcile that is that there is still output with your combat stats, which early on you are going to appreciate just a lot more. Like that output has a higher value at that point in the game. So I am able to give that a pass, so it doesn't knock it down a letter grade for me. So after that point, it's all up from there. Um, I think besides that, the imbued heart maybe should have some type of adjustment in terms of acquisition.
I just want it to be
I
obtainable
don't
from
think it's
bosses. That's
particularly.
all I'm saying. I
Yeah, it
I
should
feel
it
it
should
should
have a
have a
very high
really
drop rate from all Slayer bosses.
not not a high.
Um,
I would say the opposite. Not a high drop rate, just like a drop rate. Like make it
or well,
low.
not well high. Sorry, high is in like
Low.
Low. I mean low. I mean
Okay,
low.
yeah. I feel like giving it like a 1 in like 2 to 3k drop rate off of high Slayer bosses like Hydra
Yep.
and Araxor wouldn't devalue it too much because those bosses are high requirement bosses. And then making it like a ridiculous drop rate off of like Abyssal Sire and Cerberus, like a 1 in like 5 or even 10k. But just having that chance of getting it off of not random RNG spawn superiors would be great in my opinion.
Yep. No, I think that would be an improvement. Um, but all considered, again, I think it's the skill I've engaged with the most by far in the game. Even if that engagement could sometimes be like a month plus time of just rolling for rack site tasks and AFK no Venerable, but still, um, it was just a nice experience for me. It is gonna go in S tier.
Valid. Okay, wow. No, I think a lot of people would agree with you on that one though. I think it's a lot of people's favorite skill. um For smithing, I mean, again, sad. It's a sad state of affairs. But
Yep.
smithing is I'll just say right now is a D tier for me. It's probably one of the worst skills in the game, and also just one of the most disappointing ones. It's a skill that is so like ubiquitous to fantasy games, and you always expect so many great things from a skill that allows you to craft your own armor. And it's just sad that in old school RuneScape, it has no fucking use in that regard. You're not crafting your armor. You're actually doing the opposite. You are disassembling your fucking armor for gold. It's just, oh man, it's just such a not exciting skill. The output is so meager. It's like 3 items for the whole skill. Zombie axe, maybe a God Wars blade, and maybe 1 or 2 other things I'm forgetting. It's just depressing. I would say Giant's Foundry is the best part of smithing, which is not good because it's like anti-smithing in some ways. Um, but I still enjoy Giant's Foundry. Outside of that, I hate Blast Furnace. I absolutely hate it. It's just awful. It's clunky. It's janky. I hate it. And it's boring because again, just like crafting, the output is gold bars, like stuff you're never going to use really. Uh, and beyond that, you're not making your own stuff, so it fails as like a core concept of a skill, kind of like mining, except for some niche uses. It's a D tier for me, very very easy D tier for me, which I so sad. I really hope they fix the skill up later on, especially having played RuneScape 3 leagues. It's just it's so obviously better in RuneScape 3. It's so like beyond better in RuneScape 3. It's almost embarrassing to even compare it to the old school RuneScape version, where you're in RuneScape 3, you're creating your own armor sets. They have their own unique niches. You have this huge armor set you can get at the very end game. That's like really challenging to get. It takes hours and hours to craft, but it's like a really good end game armor set. It's just awesome. And the old school RuneScape player base will never accept getting something like that from RuneScape 3, but you know, then I'll just keep saying that the RuneScape 3 version is a billion gazillion infinitesimally better than the old school RuneScape version. That's my take on it. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, mostly agree. I would say the only interesting output that smithing has had, I feel for a very long time, has been oathplate, crafting oathplate.
Yes, I guess that's a good point.
Um,
Yeah.
that has been the most interesting smithing has been in a long time. Um, and then before that, the last time smithing was interesting was when I believe when we made our broken zombie axes, which is over a year ago, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
Um,
So
like the state of
depressing.
affairs of of smithing are just awful. Uh, Giants Foundry is a wonderful mini game again for the early and mid game because you do enjoy that gold output very much. But again, you're not crafting things for yourself. And speaking of oath plate, it's that and this has been talked about a million times. It's been memed out of existence, but it's like, oh, you can make oath plate arguably the best melee armor in the game now. Rip Torva. Uh, you make it in the you need mid 80s smithing. Oh, but to make a rim plate body, you need 99 smithing.
Yeah, yeah.
Classic.
It's just like that classic like patchwork band-aid to it because they know they can't there's no level above 99. So they it's kind of like crafting, right? Like the level brackets are so fucked. And I think Josh isn't and I had a big conversation about smithing and he wants to continue that conversation at some point because it's so like
Yeah.
it's just so broken fundamentally that it needs to rework in my opinion.
Yeah. I think there are a couple items like I think you need 70-ish smithing to make the noxious halberd, but again, it's
Yeah.
one of those things where by the time you progress to that point in your account where you're making a noxious halberd, at least as an iron, you're gonna just have the stat. It's not something you're actively thinking about, and it's not you just do it. It's an arbitrary requirement that doesn't really mesh into the skill. Oath plate, I would say, is the one exception where like I feel like it does like interact with the skill and it's cool to do. But again, that's one set of armor. I think the biggest L for smithing that can almost feel like a noob trap because again you think of in like a fantasy game like RuneScape, like, oh, I'm gonna be this smith where I'm gonna farm this ore and then I'm gonna craft these awesome weapons that I'm gonna use. But as a experienced player, you see that and you're kind of going like, oh, you're so cute, you think smithing is useful. Like that's just so sad. It's so sad.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, smithing is a D tier, unfortunately.
Yep, I think it's D.
Yeah. Thieving. Oh man, this is depressing. This is the depressing end to the list. Is yet
Yeah.
another skill that is really not good, unfortunately. I think thieving is one of those things that has a decent amount of potential, not like smithing tier, but has some potential to be interesting, but it has not found that niche. It has, at this point, though, I will say they've kind of helped make it a little bit more palatable. I would say smithing would be my least, or sorry, not smithing. Thieving would be my least favorite skill. Uh, if I started playing the game 2 years ago, like 3 years ago, before Varlamore. But
Hmm.
Varlamore with the houses and the like semi AFK, like click a once a minute distracted wealthy citizen thing, which is how I hit 99. That really saves it. It really, really saves it because the output of thieving is so boring. It's usually just gold, unless you're doing master farmers, which I'm sorry to hear that if you are. Um, Beyond that
Yep.
kind of stuff, yeah, it's just kind of a nothing skill.
Yep. Nothing skill. The biggest output of thieving is probably Pharaoh's Scepter,
Yeah,
which I recently farmed out. Terrible experience. I hated it. I hated every second of it. It was not fun at all. And then besides that, what are you doing? I think what's super interesting um, is like there's a lot of these skills where like, oh, the training is not interesting or the output is not crazy, and then oh, they get a mini game or something to go along with it. Thieving has so many different training methods that exist in the game, and all of the output is just shit GP per hour and XP for the most part. That's all it ever
yeah,
tends
that's a
to
good
be.
point. Why is it that why can they not think of an interesting output for smithing? Like it's like, oh,
Or
master
thieving.
farmers, I guess. Yeah, thieving. Yeah, like again, master farmers. If you j- clicking an NPC that has a chance to stun you is the worst thing in the world. I will never ever that is probably my least favorite interaction in the entire game is clicking NPCs that stun you for like 4 seconds. It's just my least favorite thing in RuneScape. So I will never be caught dead doing that. Not at
Yep.
Vires. I guess you could
Hot
say Vires
take.
has that output that you're
Hot
talking
take.
about, but
Hot take incoming.
yep.
You should be able to one time left click a guy to thieve him for like 20 seconds, like you do
Yep.
in Varlamore when the guy gets distracted. That should be a standard thing.
Yep. It's and like there could be ways to make like here's how they could make that less like memey, right? Maybe it's like when he like turns around, you have to like move through him, or like you have to click him again to like skirt past him so he doesn't notice you, or like something like that, right? Make it more interactable, whatever. But like it
Yep.
just this random 4 second RNG stun, cringe. It's so cringe. I hate it so much. So sadly, it gets a D tier from me.
Yep.
Oops.
It's going to the D tier as well. Um, there's a lot of ways I feel like they could make the skill really jump up in tiers, just giving it better outputs in various areas. And maybe again making the basic form of thieving, which is pickpocketing, make it more interactable. And then I actually think like thieving could jump straight to B, but with the way it is right now, like I don't know why they're kind of just satisfied with it sitting where it's at right now, but here we are.
Yeah, I agree. It's very sad that where it's at right now. Finally, we have the woodcutter.
woodcutting's weird.
Yeah.
Um, Wondering where to start with this. I think it's the first skill, a new player will like interact with the most early on because it's like the most like basic shit. I feel like in any sort of game, whether it's like, Minecraft, or some type of like survival game. Obviously, RuneScape is a survival game, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna go chop a tree and get some logs.
Yeah.
It's the same thing here. Um, I feel you'll always see a new player like default to just like cutting logs, even if they don't understand why they should even be doing it. Um, which is funny because in the outputs of woodcutting can go in a few different areas. Like they can connect to fletching and to your early fire making to get you into winter Todd. Um, and then as you get into the game a bit more, you learn about forestry, which very spicy talking point. Um, I don't know how you felt about
Dude, I
forestry.
think it's fine.
Um,
I think it's fine.
yeah,
It's fine. Like it's not like the best thing in the world, but it's like fine. Like you can just do it and it's chill. I wish the rewards were a little bit more interesting, but it's fine.
yeah, they can be a bit more interesting. They're not bad. Like I enjoy like getting like the felling axe is cool and it interacts with like the rations.
Yeah.
I think it's a neat little system to go alongside it. Um, I think the mini games themselves they could have been a bit better. When I say mini games, I mean the
The
random
events.
events.
Yeah.
Um, with forestry, I think that's my biggest contention with forestry because the big pro for me is I enjoy when games like RuneScape, MMOs, that incentivize, being in large groups.
Yeah.
Um, like forestry is some of the most MMO feelings I've had playing RuneScape. Um, of all like the different content I've done in it, which is a huge plus. Um, I just wish the events themselves, and that's a tough question. Like I wouldn't have a good answer of like, oh, what could the events be? But like, come on, man, standing underneath like a rainbow
Yeah, yeah. Some of them
a
are
few
really bad. I
times.
would say some of
Come
them.
on.
I like the one where you're like doing the mulch and like the fox traps. Like those are really good. The ones that
Yeah.
are the bad are the ones where you just stand still in a random tile for a while. Those are really bad, like the druid circles or
Yep.
whatever. But I mean, overall, it's like an inoffensive skill. You know, it really is. Like
Yeah.
some parts of it are dated, but no parts of them are offensive. I would say that wouldn't be the case if again we started playing the game like a year earlier before forestry. In fact, then forestry specifically changed the thing where trees now have a set duration. Imagine playing the game where trees are fully RNG. Dog shit. Shit.
Yeah.
I
Be
I am
terrible.
so happy that they changed that. And that unironically made the skill a lot more palatable to me. I wouldn't say the
Yeah.
outputs of the skill are interesting. I wouldn't say it's particularly captivating. But it has a decent diversity of training methods. You can tick manipulate, you can giga AFK, you
Yeah.
can do something more active,
That's the biggest plus for me is that I've ever seen training methods, the emergent types of training methods of two techniques.
or 2.5
Um,
techniques. You know, you can do a lot
or
of different versions
2.5
of it.
or 3.5
Yeah,
techniques.
yeah, 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 yeah. You
There's
know,
all these different things.
it's cool. It's cool. It's
Um,
cool.
it is cool. And then of course you get into redwoods, which
Just AFK.
does it hit a little bit of the star money problem, maybe, but again, like it's not so egregious because again, there are going to be people who, they want to go fast, they want to get their XP per hour really high on it, and they'll skip over the redwoods and they'll just freaking do their tick manip um, to get to 99 faster, and like that's totally valid. I think it's great. And then losers like me will just sit at redwoods until I'm 99, which I'm fully happy with.
Yep, I think it's
Tick.
cool. Ultimately, I think I honestly, maybe I'm being lenient, but it's like a low B for me.
Yeah, I think it's the lowest B.
Yeah,
It's gonna end up being the lowest B out of the B tier. But again, it's not something that I'm hating. Um, I think doing forestry was interactive enough. It didn't feel super annoying. When I was going from like 60 to 90, wood cutting. Um, yeah, super good. Also, like just as an Iron Man, Man, super great source of crystal shards and Prif
Oh yeah,
doing the use
ever since they
on
buffed
the
that.
forestry world that was amazing. Um,
Yep,
so that was a cool little bonus, but otherwise, yeah, just solid B,
sure,
low
perfect.
B.
I, that's a solid tier list, I think. Thank you for joining, Ragondo. And yeah, that's pretty much our maybe hot take tier list. I don't even know, but that is what it is. All right.
Hot takes mixed with some cold takes.
Yeah, I would say that. I would say that. All right, man. Peace out. Okay, we're going to do a quick amendment like 3 months into the future right now because that video was recorded like 2 or 3 months before Sailing came out. And now that Sailing came out and we're both 99, we're both maxed in Sailing, I wanted to run down Sailing. You can see it in D tier right now. That's just an accident. I accidentally put it there and I don't know how to remove it. But we'll make sure and put it to the
He's lying, guys.
appropriate
He
point.
hates sailing.
I
He
hate
hates
Sailing. I
sailing.
was wrong. I shield in my videos and now Jagex paid me $1 million and now I hate it. So fucking rip.
Yep.
It ruined the game. But without further ado, let's just, because sailing is a really big skill, let's just start off by saying how we generally thought about it and then just delve into some of the specific things that it did well and didn't do well. And I'll ask you right now,
Mhm.
how did you generally feel about the skill?
Generally felt very good, and I think it'll be worth kind of sectioning off certain parts of leveling and sailing because there's so many big milestones throughout leveling it. Um, and each part has been talked about in the community so much, and each part just has its own value to it. It's actually really hard to judge it like overall. Like overall, I very much enjoyed the skill, but once you put some parts under a microscope, then you know s- some parts of it are like S plus tiered level of excitement, and then others are like I hate this.
Yeah, I think what's weird
So
about
yeah,
sailing, not to cut you off there, but what's really weird about sailing is that I don't know if I should be giving it like leeway or if I should be more harsh on it. Because being more harsh on it, because it's a modern skill with Jagex's modern design philosophies, with Jagex's modern talents when designing a skill, so I could be more harsh on it. But on the other hand, other skills have 20 years of content and improvements, and sailing just came out. So like I don't know if like how I should be addressing this. And sailing still has the entirety of like the rest of the world to unlock as well over the course of the next like year or two, and that's going to definitely flesh it out more and make it better. I can imagine the skill is going to be better in 2 years than it is now by quite a large
yeah,
margin. Unlike other skills that I mean, dude, it's like fucking climbing a mountain to make sure that like agility gets a slightly mediocre update every 5 years, you know? While for sailing,
yeah.
I feel like it's so easy to implement that. So I don't really know how to engage in this skill, like from a quality standpoint right now. I'll do my best, obviously, but I don't know. Do you feel the same way?
No, I do because like if you could imagine a world where smithing got a rework to it and it had some of I mean obviously they're completely different skills, but just like conceptually the modern day design elements that sailing has and you apply it to a smithing update, like your mind is immediately going to think of old smithing, and hopefully most people can agree and that smithing is very weak at the moment. So in a world where they update smithing with that level of fidelity, you're going to be like, damn, smithing's S tier because the comparison is just night and day. Um, and so when you're looking at sailing, and a lot of parts of it are really good, and then when you compare it to other skills in the game, you're just like, it's really hard to make a fair assessment, especially on a tier list where you're literally comparing other skills. Like, do you grade it on a curve? Do you be critical on it because it's a modern day skill? That's tough.
I
It's
think the
tough.
safest thing to do for us is to just to pretend as though sailing has existed for 20 years like every other skill and just like engage it with how it is compared to everything else. I think that's the best way to do it because if we're like, oh well, how is it now versus in 10 years? Like is it like modern design versus old design? I feel like that kind of muddies the waters and that makes it like a very unique grading curve that doesn't apply to anything else when I think we should
Yeah.
just grade it like we would every other skill. Does that sound good?
Oh yeah, and I think in the context of a tier list, I think that's the only That's the only way to realistically go about it.
Okay, cool. Well, in that case, maybe we can like break it down right now. Like the 1 through 30 experience, and man, there's so much to talk about for sailing, and I'll try to be quick about it. But the 1 through 30 experience, I think, while like a little bit weird sometimes, I actually think it was really well done, and I think the community outrage was really stupid and annoying.
It
Um,
was way overblown.
yeah,
Way overblown, the outrage of 1 to 30.
I think that the
It,
core issue of the 1 through 30 outrage was the fact that the community is so used to knowing everything about the game that when they don't know something
mhm.
about the game, especially when it comes to skilling, all the skilling metas, they assume they automatically assume that they do. So what ends up happening is the community is like, well, it took me 7, 8 hours to level to 1 to 30 right now, and I know everything about every other skill. Why wouldn't I know that about sailing? And that you saw that kind of attitude with every comment. It's like, well, the only thing to do is to do charting missions. But it's like, yeah, you don't know how to do those that well yet. Or like charting. Well, you don't know. Or sorry, I meant courier missions, not charting missions. Or like charting. That's the only thing left to do. But like, you don't know the optimal route for charting the ocean yet, right? And I'm a little bit of a spoiler here. I know that for a fact that the community was incredibly slow for the 1 to 30, but pre-nerf, because I spoke to some of the upper devs on sailing, and they assured me that their QA testing for sailing, the 1 to 30 experience, took them around 2 to 3 hours to get to 1 to 30, not 8. And that's
Yeah.
pre-nerf. So now it's like even faster when you're being like meta about it. So I hated that whole
Yeah,
conversation. And
and
I
it's like, and you can look at it today. I feel like a lot of people who engaged in the 1 to 30 at the time are now, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, maybe even maxed. Like, they're able to look back on it and understand that, yeah, we didn't know anything. It was day one. Like, you were naturally going to be slower than, let's say, I start a new character 1 to 30. It's going to be like a fraction of the time.
Yeah, exactly. And I will say that I felt like the 1 through 30, while a bit slow, or I should say, I just don't like courier missions, so I didn't enjoy that part as much. The 30 to like 80, 30 to 78 progression for sailing is probably the best progression of any skill in the entire game. Like the 30 to
Hmm.
78 to 80 around there is so exciting. There's so much to explore, there's so much to find, there's so many ship upgrades to obtain that like fully change the way your ship feels to use.
Yeah.
And sailing really like it has like it's the anti-slayer where it drops off after 80 rather than picks up after 80. And that's probably a better place for a new skill to be in. I know we shouldn't be talking about it being a new skill, but that's probably a better place for a new skill to be in because that gives a lot of reward space room toward the end of the skills progression. How do you feel
Yeah.
about that?
Oh, 100%. And I think one comment to especially make, because it encompasses all parts of sailing, even encroaching on the 90s, is the ship upgrading throughout the entire progression of the skill. Just that has been some of the most satisfying old school RuneScape for me in my entire time playing, was that ship upgrading.
Yeah.
Um
It's like how I
and
imagine smithing should be like, essentially.
Yeah, and I mean, I compare it to construction, where it is just you're building up something that you interact with a lot. Um, I don't know. I mean, in Stanley's case, hopefully a lot
Yeah.
more in the future with more updates. But you're building this thing up to have different utilities that you will use throughout the game, and it is just so satisfying to have that progression happening as you level up, versus just these like, a lot of skills typically just have these milestones where, like, okay, I have unlocked a new method to just kind of gain XP. But no, you're unlocking milestones to make your boat better, and that feels good.
Yeah. I think like construction is a great example here. It's a very similar skill. They're both utility skills, so they're very similar in that
Yeah,
regard. And construction really kicks up a notch or like becomes useful after 50. But construction also remains useful until 99. That's the big construction thing is that from 50 to 99, construction is my favorite skill in the game. It's the best skill in the game. It 1 through 50 is kind of pointless. While for sailing, it's like 30 to 75 to 80 around there. That's where
yeah,
sailing is in its pocket, kind of what construction feels like from 50 to 99, where the progression feels really good and the unlocks feel impactful, especially, and I have to contextualize this as an end game account, in the mid game, right? The unlocks from 30 to 78, 80 sailing feels so impactful, right? New Slayer
yeah,
bosses, new dungeons and caves, new upgrades to the ship that make your XP rates increase, or just even just like some of the rewards from salvaging, like such as the necklace that teleports you to 3 different locations. Such a useful item, such a good bank teleport. I can imagine that on a new account I create, a new hardcore Iron Man, I would go for that necklace early on because it gives me a bank teleport that's really safe to use. It's 6 tiles away from a bank,
Yep.
right? Just such a powerful teleport that unlocks at 60 sailing. So there's so much cool upgrades there, and I think they nailed the upgrades on the ship from a utility standpoint, and I can't wait to see
Yep.
that be expanded further. On what they didn't nail, in my opinion, is the cosmetic upgrades on ships. I would love to see more of those on the ship.
Yeah. And I'm more forgiving on that front. Like, that's space where they can almost infinitely expand upon over time, and
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah, I'd like to see more of that, just like off rip, because I feel like it's not that hard to like color a sail or whatever, and I feel like that would add a lot more diversity to the kinds of boats you're seeing out in the ocean. But generally, the progression is really great there, and
Yeah.
I want to shout out the. Let's maybe talk about some specific pieces of content. Actually, let's just start off with the missions, the courier missions or whatever they're called, right?
Port
Um,
tasks.
yeah, port tasks. That's what they're called. I mean, I hate this kind of content personally. I hate them. I don't like
Yeah.
the content. It's very much like the hunter rumors of content. Literally, in some cases, with like the canon ones. I just don't like it. It's not for me. Some people like it. It's chill, but it's like not chill enough for me to AFK, and it's not AFK enough for me to have fun. So I just end up being bored the whole time. That's my take with port tasks.
Yeah, I see when it comes to actually doing the activity, I can see someone enjoying that flow state of like mapping out your route and then just kind of going along with it. I can respect that, and in certain cases, I could find enjoyment in that. The big problem with port tasks is that they occupy the space where they just give you XP and like some GP, and I wish there was a reward space for that
Yeah.
activity, and
And there
there's
is,
just
I
none
think, yeah,
there.
I agreed. Like that's my big criticism with port tasks is that like sailing rewards, the rewards for sailing are really weird. Where after like you unlock the bigger ones from the unique islands and from the Jubilee or the trials, not Jubilee trials, the Barracuda trials, you're kind of like most of the reward comes from fucking salvaging. It's really bizarre.
Yep.
It's a really
Salvaging or
weird
combat.
skew. Yeah, in combat. Yeah, you're right. So I feel like there definitely is a reward space that they just didn't fill with port tasks, right? Like I always say, they could give you points for completion, like Veil Totems do, for example, and then you can use those points on ship upgrades, as well as maybe like, for example, crates of supplies that and imagine you buy like a nail crate, right? And that nail crate has like gives you from bronze to rune nails that scales higher based on your sailing level, and then with a small chance of giving you dragon nails. So it's like an alternate
Yeah.
way to give dragon nails than the method we'll talk about, which is the dragons, right? I think there's definitely reward space. They just didn't really utilize it well at all. That's my big criticism with courier
Yeah.
tasks. Charting is really fun. Charting is really cool.
Yep.
Yep.
Super fun. Like a skill that gets you in the world and you literally just explore. Like,
Yeah.
man, agility. That's like I feel like
Wishes
agility could have been that in like an alternate
world.
universe.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead of climbing just rooftops, you're actually like exploring the world.
A great point, honestly. Like I feel like having like cool little hotspots out in the open world that you have to like climb through like little obstacle courses to get to through agility would be a really fun way to integrate a charting-esque thing. And I just, yeah, charting is awesome, very creative. Some of the activities are kind of annoying. I don't like the duck one that much. I don't like the fucking weather one that much. But like
Meteorologist one, yeah.
overall, I'm very positive towards charting, so I can't hate it. I think it's really cool. Love sailing
Yeah.
around, clicking on stuff, and getting XP for it. It's really cool. Um, the let's talk about trials. How do you feel about trials?
Barracuda trials, they were super fun. Like, that is some of the most locked in I've ever been into an activity in RuneScape outside of like hard PVM content. Like, and like a testament to how much I enjoyed Barracuda Trials is me doing the Jubilee Jive in like the first week. If people remember, the optimization in that area was so fucking bad. Like I was clocking in at like 30 FPS max, and that's like on a good moment. It was terrible, but like I didn't care. I was vibing and enjoying my time.
Yeah, I echo those sentiments. I think good trials are some of my favorite skilling content in the whole game. Probably my favorite skilling content in the whole game, if I think about it. I like them more than Sepulcher for a couple of reasons. I think on one hand, I think Sepulcher is really cool. It's kind of the peak of movement in old school RuneScape. On the other hand, it's very static. Sepulcher is a very static experience that doesn't. You're not like the skill expression of Sepulcher is executing the optimal route well. While it felt for me that the optimal execution or the best execution for the trials was a much more personal and like malleable experience, right? You're adapting to something more, especially for the Jubilee drive. Man, I had to solve that before all like the solves for it came out, and it was so
Yeah.
incredibly difficult. It was so overwhelming, especially the Marlin version. But I had such an incredible time learning it. It honestly, wow, it's so good. It's so good to the point where I wish that there was even more rewards attached to this kind of content. And I hope that if we get future trials, they consider, again, kind of the courier system or the port task system where you get rewards based on your speed. That's not just a one time thing and just good XP rates. Because I really feel like offloading a lot of the rewards and like the tangible, like material rewards for a skill from high skill content is so much better than just having it on salvaging. Do
Yeah.
you agree with that?
100%. Like, again, they just need to spread out the reward space, and I'm sure, again, this is a new skill, so over time, we expect more stuff to be added to fill in this space a bit more. But yeah, like, I would love to see this reward space spread out.
The cool thing about sailing is that there's so many different ways to train the skill. Some of them are good, some of them aren't good. So let's touch on some of the not good ones here. I think ship combat, I think everyone agrees, is underwhelming and or bad, both.
Yeah.
It's annoying. It costs too much to do, and it doesn't give enough back. It's frustrating. There's a
Yeah.
lot of fixes they can do with it. They can add a bit more depth to it. Something that you and I talked about a lot is adding passive effects to the crew members that actually like synergize with your boat in some ways, right? You have a crew member that's good for salvaging, and you have a crew member that's good for cannons, and you have now these stats, right? The deck handiness, the all that kind of stuff, but they don't feel like anything. They just kind of feel like all those stats feel like are just like limitations to what a crew member can do rather than
Yeah.
enhancements to what they can do. So
And
like you
that's
can
that's
have
all it really is at the
yeah,
end of the day. That
exactly.
really is all it is.
And what I would love to see is like, for example, like Jittery Jim, who has one in every stat except the one where he shoots the boat, shoots with the cannon. I would love to see, for example, him have a 50% chance to save a cannonball when fired, for example, right? Like when he's active on your boat. Stuff like that
Yeah.
to me adds so much more depth and decision making with the kinds of crews you're bringing and for what, right? You can have a crew for trawling, you can have a crew for port tasks, you can have a crew for salvaging, you can have a crew for combat. And that creates a lot more reward space for crews in the future as well. So the combat's bad, but there is reward space there that could potentially make it good in the future. And on top of that, I think there's just the cannons are kind of boring too. I would like to see more diversity in the kinds of cannons, the kinds of like maybe like I always say this, a hook cannon, like a harpoon cannon that like brings the monster to you, and then allows you to
Yeah.
melee it. For example, would be really fucking cool. But stuff like that would be really interesting for in that reward space. Do you have anything to add about the combat?
Yeah. Yeah, no, not I mean, not much else to add. Like a funny thought to me is, people will see they'll see old school RuneScape people that don't play the game, and they're like, "Oh, you just point and click and you just attack, and you're just watching them attack." And like for us, we're like, "No, that's not the game. No, there's so much more going on." And then the ironic part is, sailing combat is literally just that. It is clicking and hitting, and there is no interaction outside of that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's pretty
which
boring.
I find very ironic, for a skill that was implemented in 2025 to have that. So, yeah, there's the easy method is just to make your cannons more powerful, so your kills per hour go up, which I think would be a lazy, but I mean I'm sure people would be happy with that. And then as you've talked about, different ways to customize your cannons or your crewmates, to make combat a bit more dynamic. But I'll be curious to see what they do.
Yep, agreed. So I think like I agree with you. Obviously, I completely agree with you. I think that combat has a lot of space there, and I know they're already going to address it soon. Trawling, I didn't trawl as much as you did, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on trawling.
Yeah, I've already ranted to him about trolling a lot outside of this recording, so I'll save my bigger talking points out of that. just to focus on what it is right now, like there are a lot of skills in this game that you can get a flow state in doing. Like there are people that dislike mastering mixology for valid reasons, but the moment to moment of getting the right potions, doing the right station for that potion for whatever order you got to do, like I can get into a flow state of doing that where I'm just banging out orders and then bam, it's been like an hour or two. Um, and so that's usually my measure of like how it is to skill in this game. Some activities are gonna be more AFK, so you're not really in a flow state, but it's AFK, so it's very low effort. There's different sort of categories, so to speak. For trawling, it is in this very weird space where the activity is too active for it to be AFK or for you to give it very little attention, but it's not active enough to get into a flow state or be properly engaged. Because for those who don't know, it's just the shoals that move around in a fixed circuit that people are literally making tile packs for now that you can just follow. Um, you have to go there. You have to lower you and your other crewmates' net to the right depth midway through the shoal's lifespan, which is between like 30 and 40 seconds. You have to move it to the mid level. Um, and there's no like good indicator for that. You just kind of have to look, and if it looks like it's halfway through, then you move it, and then it'll start moving again, and you can move along with the shoal to keep catching fish as it goes to its next spot, and then the cycle repeats. Um, and a combination of just the jankiness of the menu with like your boat, because usually you want your crewmate to be driving the boat and you on the net. Um, that combines just with the activity itself, it leaves me very dissatisfied,
Yeah, I
to
think
say
it's
the least.
fair. I think there's a really cool idea with trawling. There really is. I pointed this out. Like I think following the shoal with your net and then optimizing that and getting like the fish while it's moving is so fucking cool. That's probably one of the coolest like skilling ideas. It's movement while
Hmm.
you're skilling in a really satisfying, interesting way. The issue is that you don't know where the shoal is going unless you have a plugin, and then they're all on a set path. I wish they would like prioritize that method of doing it rather than just like fucking around your UI half the time.
Yeah,
I think that's the big thing with sailing, with these kinds of skilling methods, is that most of it is just fucking around your UI instead of actually doing stuff on your boat. And I really, 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 really wish that it would just be stuff on your boat, just like make me follow a shoal and make my movement a part of this, about a part of the method, rather than just like scrolling up and down and like fucking, oh, lower it, heighten it, set the crew member there. I don't like that element of it that much, but I do
yeah,
love the idea of crew members having these utilities and purposes on the boat. I think the way you can manage crew members is really cool. I just wish the management itself was a bit better.
yeah, 100%.
Finally, let's touch on salvaging, probably the problem child in some
Mhm.
ways. Um, I don't know. A lot of people love it, and in some ways, I love it. But on the other ways, I think salvaging is broken and incredibly overpowered to just a laughable, absurd degree. And I hope it doesn't set a bad precedent for future skills and skilling activities, where like the the core issue of salvaging is that it's zero input, right? So you don't actually need to uh, put something into the skill to get something out of it, right? So it's like woodcutting, where you just get an axe and you're going in there after you already have the axe or the salvaging hooks built on your boat. All you need to do is go over there and do it, and you get output. And the skills are in the game are balanced. The gathering skills are balanced. Uh, to account for that. You get less experience woodcutting, you get less experience overall farming, you get less experience, although even farming is an input, right? The seeds. So woodcutting would be a gathering skill. Mining would be another one where the experience are balanced around it being zero input. Salvaging, in my opinion, is not balanced around that at all. It's disproportionately high, right? If you're doing it like even quarter active, it's giving you more experience. And when I say quarter active, I mean like minute or 2 minutes or even 3 minutes of AFK at a time, which is still a lot of AFK. You're getting more experience than you would be fucking tick manipulating mining. That's insane. You're getting more experience doing any kind of AFK woodcutting. And then on top of that, there's just a flat income to doing it too, right? Like there's just flat gold and seeds and all this kind of, and a drop that's 10, 15, 20 million, right? It's deranged to me that this amount of output is from a gated AFK gathering skill that gives, if you're doing it even a little bit active, more experience than other gathering skills. It's like there's no like balance there. If you want salvaging to be high XP, it should have low output. If you want it to have high output, you should have low XP. Right? Right now, you can essentially AFK it if you're doing Giga AFK more than star mining and redwoods and gain double the experience. That's deranged. That's insane to me, and I don't like that as a balancing knob. Considering I also
Mm.
made 15 million gold, not counting the actual dragon cannon barrels, which I'm not selling because I'm an Iron Man. That I got to. That's insane. From 90 to 99.
He got 3, by the way, and I barely got 1 before I hit 99.
Yep. Yep.
Classic, the
It's
classic
insane,
TheoryWise
right?
luck.
But if I was main, right, that'd be 45 million gold that I made
Yep.
from literally not playing the game. Not good, in my opinion. That's really bad. And I hope that future skills or activities that are added that are intended to be AFK are not balanced like this. I think it's bad for the game. And it made sailing kind of a joke to level, by the way. That's another big thing that a lot of people don't care about that much, I guess. But like, I want 99s to mean something in RuneScape. Now, not all of them need to be like Runecraft or Agility because they suck ass, but like at least make them like Slayer or Herblore, right? Where there's a level of prestige or even construction that stem from having that as a 99. But sailing, I feel like loses all that when the value proposition is so skewed towards AFKing, right? Like you could say, oh, well,
Hmm.
you can do something active like the Barracuda trials, but the problem is when this AFK activity is so disproportionately good, most people will just drift to that regardless. It feels bad. Like it's bad when it feels bad that you're not doing the AFK method, right? So if agility gets an AFK agility method that gives you 45k an hour, you could say, oh, well, you can go do Sepulcher and get 100k if you're good, but like I will sacrifice being 2 times slower if I don't have to play the game if I'm being optimal about it, right? Like there's a reason why most people drift to AFK star mining instead of like doing active mining because the value proposition of star mining is so superior. Same with redwoods instead of tick manipulating teaks, right? And for salvaging, it got to the point where I felt bad doing the Gwyneth Glide because I could have been making more money and offsetting the actual resources cost of all the construction I did for sailing. I can make all that money back that I spent from AFK salvaging. I can get the dragon cannon barrels from AFK salvaging, and I can be getting good experience from AFK salvaging too. So it's like I just felt bad doing the high skill cap, good XP an hour method that gives nothing else. That's not a good balance for the skill, in my opinion. I don't know how you feel about it.
You stole my talking points, bro. That's kind of fucked up.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, just to add on to it, like really hammering in the fact that like unless you are speed running to 99 or you're one of these insane people going for 200 mil, like if you are not those people, you are not doing Barracuda trials after you get like the shark or marlin for the Gwyneth Glide. Like why? Why would you do that? Just go salvage and get free GP and resources, and also putting in 0 effort. And there's what's frustrating is there's like two, because you say, oh, we love and hate it. Well, we don't hate it, but we have issues with it. And you are right, because there's kind of two sides of me. Like there's two wolves inside of me. One loves salvaging, the other hates it. Um,
Yeah.
like I'm as an employed adult who works for a living, and can't just spend 16 hours a day grinding RuneScape hardcore. Like, hey, salvaging's fucking great. I can put in such minimal effort for 30, like up to 30 minutes at a time, um, and get 40k XP per hour. That is insane. That is not even discussing the like GP output or the resource output that salvaging gives you. That is insane. But then there's just another side of it that you have to look at it where like is this a good precedent to set for OSRS's first new skill to have such an activity like this? um I don't I don't see it like being like a slippery slope for like future skills. Like I can see it as a lesson learned for Jagex in the future. um but it still exists. And again, when you are making a joke out of the other methods of training in the late 80s and 90s of the skill to where it's just like just do this one thing. It's a bad look.
Yeah. I think the weird thing about salvaging too is there's no reward space left for it. It's so powerful already that they can't add a higher level salvaging spot with because what does that even look like? You're already making millions and millions of gold. You're already having
Yeah.
crazy supplies and insanely rare, expensive drops from it, and all of these things are fine in a vacuum. But I feel like there's just a it's just a bad precedent. I hope it doesn't carry over. I don't want to fully commit to the slippery slope argument. Maybe it's never going to be brought up again, but considering that everybody upset about the 1 through 30 leveling experience was endlessly whining, oh, it's just agility but slower. Oh my god, it's slower than it. Oh my god, it's slower than agility. Right? Like all these people whining. So it's like, oh,
Yeah.
obviously there's already now a precedent set for comparing a skill to another skill. So you know for a fact that if they add another AFK activity, oh my god, it's worse than salvaging. I was making 40 million gold leveling to 99 on salvaging, and I was AFK, and I was getting 70, 65k experience an hour. Like,
Yep.
and now I'm worried that like if Jagex caves to that, I hope they don't. We're just gonna go down the we're essentially doing the RuneScape 3 thing of devaluing all existing skills by adding completely power crept training methods to them. And I hope that doesn't, you know, at the end of the day, I'm upset that sailing, a little bit upset that sailing 99s are essentially worthless now because they're so easy to acquire. They like if you have a
Yeah.
99 sailing, it's no different than having 99 cooking and 99 woodcutting in my eyes. So congratulations, you AFK'd for 100 hours, but like, and that's already kind of sad. But on the other hand, I don't want that to infect other skills. I don't want a Herblore to get an AFK training method like salvaging. I don't want
Yeah.
like and if you look at AFK training methods for like Slayer, for example, they're task dependent. They're way worse XP per hour, right? So that's kind of what like AFK should be a huge time commitment for the AFK, right? Like if you're
Yep.
AFKing Karambwans to 99 fishing, that's a 400-hour time commitment, right? And that kind of evens out a little bit, right? To me, but that evening out doesn't exist for sailing right now, and that's my concern down the line. But I think the overall positive of sailing, and I didn't even bring this up, is that it feels so tactile. I talked to Mod Rice a little bit about this, where sailing just feels so connected to the game world. Every activity you do feels like you're actually doing something in the world itself. Even salvaging, there's just this tactile feeling of like lowering the salvage hook and like bringing it back up and then like it feels so connected to the world more than any other skill. And we don't
Yeah.
have time to talk about this. For maybe we can do a separate episode on skilling, uh, like what it is and the qualities of a skill. But like compare that to like Slayer, which is just running around fighting stuff that for some reason is gated by a skill, or like even fishing, which is clicking a hotspot and kind of just doing an animation. There's something so tactile about the methods through which you train sailing that feels so connected to the game world. And that's probably the biggest success of sailing, is that the
Yeah.
animations, the sound effects, the music, and just the way you're doing an activity feels so connected to the world of RuneScape, to the point where it's not that sailing doesn't belong as a skill, is that it is more of a skill than most skills in RuneScape, right? Like I would I would delete fucking agility, fucking thieving, hunter, mining, crafting, firemaking way before I would delete sailing, because sailing actually feels like you're doing a skill while those things don't. And that's like the big success of sailing in my eyes.
Yeah. No, it's just like a feeling of immersion. Like I feel like I'm immersed in the world like when
Yeah,
I'm sailing. Not, and I'm not like an RP type of player or like anything like that, but it still feels good to like get immersed in the activity that I'm doing, which a lot of skills, don't give you that same feeling.
yeah, exactly. That's probably the biggest success of sailing. Overall, it's going to improve in time for sure, and it'll get even better. But for a rating on sailing right now, for me personally, and you can jump in on your own after this too, I would put sailing at like an A tier right now. Um, Probably under magic, but over fishing and farming for me. That's where sailing is for me. And in time, it could be that sailing ends up being even better than magic, and it hits that S tier if they fill out the 80 to 99 content with really impactful stuff, like construction has. But until then, it would be like an A tier for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like A tier for me as well on like the very low end, and that is with the understanding that they're definitely going to add more stuff. And like I could see a future where 1 year from now I look back and it's like, wow, sailing is S tier now, like on that
Yeah.
same level as construction, as magic. Um, and I just have a feeling that there's a good chance we'll get there.
I don't think that there is a I think there's a very real reality of it just getting a lot better. As I said, from the 80 to 99 improvements, like adding more content there, new oceans, all that new stuff to unlock. We didn't even touch on like islands and how impactful they can be, like the new
Yeah.
dragon farming meta, which kind of weird because of how much they give, like sailing materials and great prayer, but just cool that that kind of stuff is added to the game. Um, and so that's filling out would be nice too, but also just improvements, right? I know they're going to touch up trawling. I know they're going to touch up combat. And that's going to be a huge improvement to sailing too. Like, give me a reason
Yeah.
to go out and do combat for sailing. That's not just like doing shitty fucking shark kills or whatever. Very, very exciting for the future there too. So, yeah, overall, big dub on the skill. You know, could have very easily not been a big dub, but it's a big dub. I loved it. It's one of my favorite skills.
Yep. Same.
Cool. That's pretty much it. Uh, that's the rating, guys. We'll call it there after 35 minutes of extra conversation. So, awesome. I'm sure we'll go back and talk about sailing down the line. Thanks for joining, Rogondo.
Thank you, TheoryWise.
Yes, yes, indeed, indubitably.